We've got ones that can see. Welcome, everybody, to today's show. I have to cover this because I was looking at the World Health Organization and some of the stuff that's going on because I'm sure you heard just to get MAGA and the conservatives all excited. Donald Trump talked about withdrawing the United States from the WHO, even though he is the father of that vax that people fell for and deceivingly took, right? But by pulling ourselves and removing ourselves from the WHO, it's gotten everybody excited thinking that Trump is anti the WHO and he's not going to force any of this stuff on us. Oh, yeah, well, he's working on his gene editing to cure cancer. But while I was looking at this, I had to pivot from covering that topic because Tedros, well, everybody knows Tedros, right? He's one of those guys you look at, your stomach starts to churn a little bit. You kind of clench your fist, you get a stress ball. You think about what you do in a room with Tedros for about 10 minutes, right? But Tedros was actually at some event. And I said, what is this event? What is the WHO doing here? The WHO is apparently a part of the 4th Global Conference on Road Safety. That's right, road safety. You're probably going, huh? I thought the World Health Organization was about curing diseases and malaria and how are they going to cure this? I mean, get this inside of people's bodies, right? Well, they're also very concerned about road safety, right? And Tedros tweeted out, nearly 1.2 million people lose their lives on the world's roads every year. They set out on a regular trip to work, to school, to go shopping, to see a friend, or to go on a holiday, but that journey becomes their last, right? So you're probably saying to yourself, what in the world am I even listening to, right? Well, there's a conference, millions of dollars poured into some of the most ridiculous crap you'll ever hear in your life, called things like Youth for Road Safety, right? And Tedros is saying young people must be included in decision making, because that's what we need. Young people who can't figure out what a man is and what a woman is, young people who don't really have a clue, but of course are narcissists via the Facebook and the social media that's been crammed down their throats. They're constantly showing pictures of themselves doing every single thing that they do throughout their day. In fact, they're on such autopilot that the young people actually have an event occur in their life and they're more interested in figuring out the best way to post it online so everyone can see it. I mean, I've seen people who have a baby, right? And a minute after having the baby, they're focused on getting a photo to upload to Instagram to show their baby and tell the world with a political statement. Oh, it's 10:01 this evening. The love of my life, the joy of my world came out of my womb. And we're proud to announce, me and Jerry, that we've given birth to the wonderful, wonderful child of ours, Liberty. And we hope to raise, and you just go, whoa. And you just read and you go, is this a PR statement from Nike? No, this is human behavior now, right? So that's what we need. We need more decisions from the youth out there who are on autopilot. Because again, see these people in real time at the beach, anywhere you might go, looking to take a selfie about every 5 seconds. So yeah, we don't really need decisions made by people who don't know how to make decisions. What Tedros is telling you is we need young people to repeat all the stuff we say because that's what young people do, because we tell them that they're smarter than adults and they believe it because they're narcissists by default because of how they've been raised and trained in this system. And then they go out and repeat everything that we say about how we need road safety. Now, this is laughable because if you understand what this is, right, what they're talking about, then it's laughable. Of course, there's all problems on the roads. Let's start with the fact that we pay all this money in taxes and our state taxes. And how many of you see potholes constantly on the same roads for years that never get fixed, right? I mean, that's something you would think would affect road safety, of course. Then you think about how there's lunatic drivers out there who drive 120 miles per hour. And you go, why is this kid, these TikTok kids, and they crash and they kill families, are going 150? Well, I don't know. Maybe because every year they release some of the worst movies ever, like The Fast and the Furious, that brainwash these kids into wanting to go fast and get in their car and drive 200 miles an hour and act like complete fools. Or all the rappers or singers or pop stars that always act that way, right? Right? So those are things that are road safety problems. And of course, how they've made us so dependent on technology. So the majority of these insane people are texting while they're driving and can't get their head down or up, I should say, away from their phone to actually look at the road. So there are dangers on the road, but they couldn't care less about that, because what this is about is cramming people into small areas, and of course, everything being autonomous. And that's why the WHO is involved in this. I mean, look at this website. Before I play you some of the stuff that Tedros is talking about, you would think Tedros was talking about a deadly disease. They're talking about the number one public health threat. Let me repeat that. I mean, are you laughing? Yours, Youth for Road Safety. First of all, anybody who attends one of these events, you probably should spend 30 days in jail just for attending it, for being so stupid. Secondly, anybody out there who thinks the number one public health threat is road traffic injuries, I mean, how easy is it to brainwash you? I mean, you probably could convince these people that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's going to come to their home in a couple of nights and roast marshmallows with them and play music on a ukulele while the fairy godmother, the tooth fairy, flies down the chimney with Saint. I mean, who in the world is believing this? This is the new number one threat, right? I thought the number one threat was climate change. I thought the number one threat was the outbreak from right? They just keep reusing this type of stuff, and nobody goes, is it the number one threat, right? So towards the last generation facing road traffic injuries as their number one public health threat. So why are they the last generation? Well, have you also noticed how most of these kids don't like to drive? Now, I'm not going to say I love getting in the car and driving. It's the funnest thing in the world, right? But I enjoy the freedom of the fact that I can drive where I want to drive, right? And that's a freedom that they don't want us to have. But if you notice how paranoid these young people are now about even driving cars. So I did a video once talking about articles that were out there about Gen Zers, Gen Xers. These people are afraid to go out to restaurants because they're afraid to make a choice on a menu, okay? So they've been trained this way. Government has made them like this. People just didn't get born like this now. All of a sudden, I'm afraid to drive a car. I'm so scared to drive a car, right? They've made them this way, so they don't want to drive in the first place. But what do they want to do? Well, they want to be in the car to get where they have to get and play on their tech, right? And not have to worry about actually driving in accidents because they're so scared that they might, these people are so fearful they don't want to leave their home. We witnessed this in 2020, 2021, right? These people who still are out walking among us wearing masks on their face. So now they're convincing these people that the top threat is road safety, right? Hashtag claiming our space. The Claiming Our Space global campaign on road safety, right? I mean, and there's videos on here about claiming your space. And this is only about one thing. Just like the plane crashes, about autonomous plane, it's about autonomous vehicles. And this is the next push. And why do you think the World Health Organization would be involved in something like this? Autonomous cars create and maintain a map of their surroundings based on a variety of sensors situated in different parts of the vehicle. Radar sensors monitor the position of nearby vehicles. Video cameras detect traffic lights, read road signs, track other vehicles, and look for pedestrians. They need you on board with things like this ridiculous initiative so that they can enable and be allowed to create their surveillance state. So cameras can be on all cars at all times. And again, ties into the true crime stuff with the CCTV. That's why it's become so big. Nothing becomes big organically. Okay, I get it. Some people are intrigued. Oh, it's a true crime. I'd like to find out it's interesting. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. Yeah? Well, the hero in all those always seems to be somebody's camera somewhere or DNA, right? Two things that the government has planned for you. Get access to everyone's DNA, okay? When you hear about the database, they're like, they got someone's DNA and they couldn't find them and they had to do this really crazy thing where then they find other people, but thankfully they put their stuff in Ancestry.com so they were able to find the killer, right? Which should be illegal. But people cheer for it because they found the killer that way, right? And then soon, it'll be mandatory that everybody submit their DNA to the government, just like it'll be mandatory for autonomous vehicles and cameras everywhere to detect all things at once. And for anybody out there, this is all driven through artificial intelligence. Okay, autonomous car system, the self-driving car system uses sensors, cameras, radar, and AI to drive a vehicle without human input. Doing the same thing with planes. Let me play for you this clip and try to not throw up on yourself because every time I see Tedros speak, I also get ill. But just watch this and remind yourself, they're talking about road safety. The World Health Organization and all of these people are meeting, clearly backed by millions of dollars, big screens. There's all politicians there, members of the UN at this event talking about road safety. You can't make it up.
The World Health Organization has been warning for decades how important it is that road safety is truly acknowledged and that we do commit to changing what we have been seeing for decades now. The WHO has said since the very first decade of road safety that it is no accident, but the result of determined political leadership and commitment. And that's why we have made commitment the theme of this conference. Joining us now, virtually, is the Director General of the WHO, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. The floor is yours. We are very glad that you could join us, Tedros.
Prince Abdulaziz bin Saud bin Naif Al Saud, Minister of the Interior, Honorable Minister Abdulsamad Kayu, UN Special Envoy Jean Todt, Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear colleagues and friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. I'm honored that so many have joined us today, and I thank the Kingdom of Morocco for hosting this very important conference. I'm very sorry I can't be with you in person, although I tried my best to. I commend His Majesty the King for initiating the Mohammed VI International Prize for Road Safety. WHO is honored to be the first recipient of this prize. Nearly 1.2 million people lose their lives on the world's roads every year. They set out on a journey like all of us do every day, to work, to school, to go shopping, to see a friend, or to go on holiday. And that journey becomes their last. Road traffic crashes are the leading killer of children and young people. This tragedy is compounded by the fact that most of these are preventable deaths. We know that change is possible. The decade of action has shown that countries, no matter their size or economy, can implement policies to prevent traffic collisions and save lives. Over the past decade, 10 countries reduced the number of traffic deaths by at least half. Belarus, Brunei Darussalam, Denmark, Japan, Lithuania, Norway, the Russian Federation, Trinidad and Tobago, the United Arab Emirates, and Venezuela. And 35 more countries reduced deaths by over 30%. In recent years, China and India both strengthened the safety standards for vehicles manufactured and sold in their markets. Mexico adopted landmark legislation guaranteeing equitable access to safe and healthy mobility. And the United Arab Emirates and Vietnam invested heavily in public transport. Cities such as Bogota, Kigali, and Paris have redesigned urban infrastructure to prioritize the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. These are just a few examples. I commend all of you who have worked and are working so hard for these results. You have demonstrated that we can make safer roads a reality. But we are not there yet. Far more needs to be done to meet the Sustainable Development Targets by halving road traffic deaths globally by 2030. And despite progress in some countries, much of the world is heading the wrong way. In the past decade, road traffic deaths in Africa increased by 17%. This is because in Africa and elsewhere, many countries are expanding transport systems designed for cars, not people. A safe systems approach to mobility puts people and safety first, with a focus on mass transit and other forms of efficient and sustainable transport. It prioritizes the safety of pedestrians, cyclists, and other vulnerable road users who account for more than half of all deaths. Safe and sustainable transport systems have multiple other benefits. They can help to reduce the burden of cancer, cardiovascular and respiratory diseases, boost access to jobs and education, and help fight climate change. We know what works, and we must step up action to match the scale of the crisis. The Global Plan for the Decade of Action for Road Safety 2021-2030 charts the way forward. We all have a role to play in making the global plan a reality. First, we call on governments to lead mobility strategies that are rooted in good data, backed by strong laws and sufficient funds, and that include all sectors of society. Second, we call for young people to be included in decision-making and to raise their voices for safer roads. Third, we call on academia and civil society to generate evidence and hold leaders to account. And fourth, we call on businesses to put safety and sustainability at the core of their value chains. Your Highness, Your Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, in this complex and often divisive world, road safety is surely an issue that we can all rally around. It can help make people healthy, cities sustainable, and societies equitable. So let me leave you with this vision. This conference should be a fork in the road. There should be a before Marrakesh and an after Marrakesh. We know what needs to be done. The solutions are not always easy or popular, but we know they work and that they save lives and are a good long-term investment in sustainability and productivity. Together, we can work for a world in which everyone reaches their destination safely. Shukran jazilan. Merci beaucoup. I thank you, and I wish the best for the conference. And I hope this will be a game changer. That's what I believe. And shukran, Morocco, once more.
I mean, it's unbelievable. You're thinking they're talking about, malaria breakout or something else that they create, right? Well, they're very interested, of course, in road safety. And they want children to feel empowered because they know that when they tell these young kids, hey, we'll bring you to some of our conferences and we'll pat you on the back, right? And you clearly know more, we got to get through to your friends because your friends don't get it. Oh, yeah, I'll get through to them. I'll start posting on my social media and we'll pay you to post it. So, okay, and I'll get paid too to post it on my social media because they'll just repeat what they hear from these psychopathic tyrants who want to take away every freedom that we have. The solution that you're hearing that they're not outright saying about road safety is to remove humans from driving cars. That's the result. It's not to make sure that people are wearing helmets and their seatbelt, okay? It's certainly not to fix potholes in the road because they don't care about that. It's about autonomous. AI governance runs on AI, which means it's autonomous, which means you have no control. That's what it means, right? Look at the topics that they discuss at this thing. data-driven strategies, right? Private sector involvement, safe vehicles, road safety observations, emergency tech. People read this and it just goes in one ear out there. Like, okay, I mean, I don't know. Well, emergency tech, okay. Identify priorities, share knowledge. Yeah, that all sounds normal. All right, read between the lines. AI. Sensors gather info about the car's surroundings, which means your privacy is now removed. Cameras and radar provide visual and distance information. AI analyzes information to decide how to steer, speed, or slow down your car. The car executes the action to achieve its goal, such as navigating to a destination. Of course, potential benefits: reduce traffic, right? Lower accident rates, yay! Improve walkability and livability, like in a 15-minute city. Reduced CO2 emissions, that's a big one. And new ride-hailing and trucking services, right? Right. And guess what? Just like all the other crap that they cram down our throats, what's the common thing that they continually say? Well, it's going to be difficult, but everybody's got to do their part. There's going to be pushback. Oh, and then they guilt people out there, right? And they shame them into accepting this. They're like, I don't want to be one of those people that pushes back. This is the future, right? Right? They don't even know that this is a bunch of psychopaths who are trying to take away every right that you have to walk and move freely on this earth. That's what they're trying to do. So then they go, well, it's going to take a lot of work. We all need to convince these other people who are being selfish that they need to give up their gas-powered car and step into one of our autonomous vehicles. And then everybody who works in the same office could all squish into the car and have a sausage party in the back seat and get driven to their work together and go home together, right? And not worry about anything anymore because we'll make sure you're safe. Right? It's incredible. It's the same MO, right? It's the same MO. They tag the UN on these things, but people should be going, what in the world? Road safety with the UN? Huh? What? Right? Should this be like a state level? Hey, we got really bad highways here. Maybe we should fix the potholes, right? They're like, oh, we're going to lower speed limits and stuff. Oh, you're going to lower speed limits, right? And that's really going to help when you're putting out a Fast and the Furious movie every month, conditioning people and convincing them it's cool to drive fast, because what do you think those movies are there for? You think those movies are there to entertain? They're some of the worst things you could ever sit through, watching Vin Diesel and The Rock drive cars and do wheelies. I mean, got nothing better to do on a Friday night? Rather put my head through a wall multiple times than sit through that. But that's how they condition people, right? That's why people drive like lunatics. They promote it. They glorify it. It's called human conditioning. That's what your government does. This is behavioral control through manipulation, everything, including this. This whole event is about manipulation, convincing you that the WHO, that these people who all just seem to have their hands in everything. Now the WHO's involved in road safety, right? It's like Bill Gates. Thought he was involved in computers. Oh, he's also involved in vaccine. Oh, and he's also involved in farming and owns all this farmland. Oh, really? Oh, and he also sucks the carbon out of the air with a vacuum and puts it underground so that the elites can farm underground with the carbon because you're too dumb to figure out photosynthesis, by the way, right? Nobody's suspicious about it at all. Yeah, they just all care about every single issue that affects our lives. And again, none of them are elected, right? None of them are elected, but no one will be concerned because they say, oh, Donald Trump's going to pull away from the WHO, right? Why? So they could actually release a real bioweapon on the public? Like, fog density sitting among us in America and say, well, they broke away from the World Health Organization. They get what they deserve, right? Chaos will be coming. But this, to me, is one of the funnier things I've ever seen. I've never heard of such nonsense in my life. Of course, the first second I see it, I'm like, what? The WHO and road safety, right? Like, what could that possibly even mean? Well, we know what it possibly could even mean. Because all you have to do is just use critical thinking. Well, they want everything autonomous and electric by 2030, right? So they're telling you that we need to give kids power because they're the only ones who are buying into our climate scam because they don't get it at all. They don't get anything at all. They believe us as truth, and we've convinced them that people speak against us are conspiracy theorists, so they'll believe it, and then they'll just go and repeat it, and they'll act like little David Hoggs walking around the earth, and everybody who sees them will want to hock a loogie in their faces, right? Welcome to the world, ladies and gentlemen. The WHO, working with road safety. There's no agenda here. Oh, right, there is, of course, because there's an agenda behind everything. And when you see these psychopaths get together and gather and use words like caring and loving and equity and equality, all it means is that we'll all be equal slaves that they can control. And that's all that they want. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.